Hello, 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 hello. This is Carl, and welcome to my podcast, Let's Talk with Carl E. Long. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, let's get right into what America is talking about today. What is America talking about? Guys, this particular podcast that I have dedicated myself to do is because of the recent election and the Trump administration that is in there. I'm calling this Trump Watch. Guys, we Democrats, we liberals, we whatever you want to call us, independents that did not agree with this election, we cannot let our guards down. I know that we were feeling really downtrodden and we just didn't want to do anything, but we got to get back into the fight. So one of the main reasons why I'm doing this podcast was because in the election, there was so much news that was being gotten from podcasts and social media posts and TikTok and everywhere else. And people just kind of abandoned mainstream news. But what was out there that was so bad was there was not a lot of truth. That's why we got where we are. That is why Trump, he calls it a mandate. He won a landslide. It wasn't a landslide. It was 1.2 points over Kamala Harris. And I think that if we had just a little more time, we could have avoided all of this, but it didn't happen. So here we are. So that's why I'm doing a podcast. So today I want to talk about executive orders and Donald Trump and what they mean for the presidency and how this is going to affect us in these next 4 years. It's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be tough. So let's just get into the definition of an executive order. An executive order is a directive issued by the President of the United States that manages operations of the federal government. It has the force of law and does not require approval from Congress or state legislator. All right, that's what the executive order is, and that is what the president has. You know, all the branches of government, you have your Congress, you have your Senate, you have your Department of Justice, and you also have the press. So all of these things kind of work together to make sure that this is not a monarchy. All right. So back when Britain was ruling the colonies, I mean, he was ruling it from a monarchical kind of leadership there, where there was a king. Now, believe it or not, Donald Trump thinks he's a king. He's even said he wants to be a dictator on day one. But this executive order is probably the closest thing that an American president will get to having any kind of power of a king, because they can do things that does not require Congress. Although, even though they can do an executive order, Congress can still come back around, pass a law to get rid of it, and then the president himself can veto. So it's this ever-changing spin of balance of power. So this is to make sure that no branch of government has more power over the other. So our founding fathers, they got a wisp of what it was be like to be a subject of England, and they didn't want it. So they came up with this. And it's pretty ingenious of how they did it. I mean, it's pretty miraculous of how they did it. But your president right now, Donald J. Trump, he is pushing every button that he can to get around all of this process. So, yeah. So that's what's going on right now. So then there's the press. Now, here's where I come in as a podcaster. The press didn't do a good job to me. They didn't do a good job with a lot of things because the press is so trying to be in that middle road, and they don't want to give opinion. There are some opinion journalists, but they're the mainstream journalists. They just kind of follow the fold. And to me, they were not helping. There comes a time when truth is more important. Truth to power. There's more important on truth. And a lot of them were normalizing Trump and what he was saying. You know, Kamala was getting much harder of a time with the journalists than Donald Trump was because of just the way he was. He was able to tell lie after lie after lie. And they just kind of got tired of it and just said, well, you know, Trump. No, it should have been done over and over again. The main example is Project 2025. Yes. Now, because Donald Trump disavowed that it had anything to do with it, the media kept saying and placating, well, Donald Trump, every time anybody brought up Project 2025 and what he was doing, the media would say, well, he's disavowed that. He says he's not a part of it, knowing that was a lie. Because we're right now, guys, we are living in Project 2025, and all this stuff is happening, all of it. And you have to be just dumb as a rock to believe that that's not the mandate that he was following. If you look into that document, if you have some time looking into that document, it is a very factored document. Some group of people took a lot of time to decide how they think we as Americans ought to live. This group of people, the Heritage Foundation, or wherever they were called, and they did that, and they did it in quite a great fashion. And I mean, it's all in writing, and they put it out there for the American people to see, and they were going to get it done, and they did. So that is why we're in this position. We're in this position because you, the voter, a lot of you changed your voting pattern. A lot of you didn't vote. But Donald Trump sold you a hill of beans saying all this stuff was going to happen, and basically it's not. He's a liar, guys. He's been a liar since he started this thing, and why we have just turned our head to all the lies that he makes, I don't understand it. I never will. So my job here on this podcast is to tell the truth, of what's going on and what we need to do as a people. So remember, you have a voice. If things are not going the way, I'm particularly speaking to those of you that voted for him, if things are not going the way that your vote was put out there to do, then you need to call your congressman. You need to make noise. You need to make noise. You have a voice. Because the one thing that you're going to hear the whole while during this Trump administration is the American people had a mandate, and they were okay with everything that Donald Trump said he was going to do. A lot of this stuff he's doing, he didn't say he was going to do on the campaign trail. Some of it that he did, but are you okay with it? If you're not okay with it, then you need to speak out and speak up and let somebody know. Don't sit there and just take things and not know that your vote, your voice matters. It matters. So that is why I think that mainstream media failed us, because they kind of normalized him, and a lot of the podcasters, there were so many that were leaning so far right, and they were giving all these untruths, and it was just so much misinformation out there that nobody got the truth. Nobody got the truth. So remember, you have a voice. So guys, this is the Donald Trump revenge tour, and I'm on Trump watch. I am on Trump watch. So every executive order that he does, everything that he passes that has something on it that just has a sink that doesn't make sense, he can be checked by another branch of the government. A lot of them are his cronies and his loyalists, but he doesn't have the entire DOJ, and there are some things that we can do to stop some of this stuff on the Donald Trump revenge tour. Because if you look at the pattern of what he's doing right now, just about everything that he's doing has something to do with something somebody did to him. I mean, he's getting rid of all kinds of regulatory departments. He doesn't want any kind of red tape, anything that's going to stand in his way. They're either getting fired or they're getting halted. So this is all about him. I have yet to see him do anything for the American people except maybe the immigration raids that he's been doing. But here's the thing, that's even theater. These raids have been going on all along. ICE doesn't go around with a camera. These things have been happening for a long time. But he's making you feel like that he's really doing something that was already being done. So you see what I mean? He's playing with your psyche. And we have got to be smart enough to know that this is not the truth. And you have to understand that. Don't let him use you. Understand what's going on. So the thing that I want and I'm scared about is that Republicans are just horrible at governing. They're good at elections. They're good at messaging. I mean, they're just good at lying. They're good at putting that out there. But they're not good at governing. Just like today. Today, what is today? Today is January the 29th. And the halt that they put on all government spending, they had to rescind that because there's nobody there in these positions that are smart enough or even doing any research to understand what that meant. It meant a whole lot of stuff for you to make a blanket thing like that. So they had to take it back. They basically was turning off Medicare and Medicaid by halting this stuff, and all of these agencies that run these things basically were not going to get funded. People weren't getting paid. It was just a big mess. So they turned it off. And that just shows you how Republicans govern. They don't know what they're doing. And I'm sorry. There's some good Republicans out there. Don't get me wrong. Some people know what they're doing, but they're so afraid of being primaried by Donald Trump. And what that means is some of them are coming up for election. So if you go against Donald Trump, they're going to primary you. That means he's going to send his own candidate to run against you so that you don't get your job back. So that's what is fueling the reason why these legitimately normal-minded people are not speaking up for what is right. They are following along with whatever he says to do because they are afraid. The few of those that did it, they lost all of their positions, but they put country over party. And you're not going to get a lot of them that's going to do that in the Republican Party. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. So that is where we are. So the Democrats don't have a majority of the House or the Senate, but because of some of these things, there has to be a certain majority. And with the filibuster around there are some ways that things can happen. We have a few Republicans that kind of lean on the inside because they are senators in blue states, so they know they have to ride the line. They can't go too far right. They have to be more central. Okay, so there are some fail safes. And then you have the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is full of judges, and for the most part, they're pretty clean on the Department of Justice. But there are some Trump loyalists that are in there. And then don't forget about the Supreme Court. If something gets to the Supreme Court, I get real afraid. I am more confident with the federal judges that are placed all around the country than I am with the Supreme Court. You know, so far they've been doing okay, but that can get really scary. So now what the Trump loyalists will constantly tell you about the election, they're going to constantly tell you that 78 million people voted. That's going to be their go-to answer. Get ready for it. No matter how wrong Trump is doing, they're going to come back and say, well, the people have spoken, and you said, no, you didn't say a lot of this stuff. You didn't say you wanted to do a lot of this stuff. So you got to find out when things are wrong. So let me tell you, one of the biggest things that he did was this 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment. He wants to get rid of the 14th Amendment. That is birthright citizenship. Let's listen to this news station in Boston cover what Trump is trying to do, and we'll come back.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Holmes Ward. With the stroke of a pen, President Donald Trump is attempting to upend the lives of would-be American citizens. Babies born in the United States to undocumented parents would be ineligible for automatic birthright citizenship, which is outlined in the Constitution. The order, creating fear and confusion, is now making its way through the courts.
The sham executive order is absolutely unlawful. Full stop.
Legal challenges are underway after President Donald Trump signed an executive order banning birthright citizenship. The order means babies born to parents who are not citizens or permanent residents with green cards will not automatically become citizens, even though they were born in the U.S.
He doesn't get the authority to do that. He's not afforded that authority in his presidency. There is a process to change the Constitution, and if he wants to do that, he has to follow that.
The ACLU filed a separate lawsuit in New Hampshire, and Lawyers for Civil Rights also filed yet another lawsuit with La Colaborativa in Chelsea and the Brazilian Workers Center.
The president does not get to decide who is a U.S. citizen. That is determined exclusively by the Constitution.
I'm only a citizen because of birthright citizenship.
Mayor Michelle Wu holding her newborn daughter Mira, sharing her personal experience.
My parents weren't citizens when I was born in this country. They, achieved that many years later.
The 14th Amendment states, quote, All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside, unquote. It was added to the Constitution after the Civil War to give African Americans full citizenship.
All right, so that is the 14th Amendment. And again, all the civil rights that have come to this country are because of Black Americans, and a lot of other people are being afforded these liberties because of Black Americans. So that was written for African Americans specifically because of after the Civil War. There was it's called the Dred Scott case. You got to read up on what that was all about. So that this one guarantees that if you're born in this country, you are a citizen. All right. And this country also means Puerto Rico and all of our territories. You are an American citizen if you are in one of those countries. All right. If you're born in one of those countries, that makes you an American citizen. OK, so that is one of the mandates that he has put out there. I mean, it's the Constitution. Why would you write an executive order on something that's in the Constitution? Trump knows that is the part of it, but he wants to stir the pot, see how far it'll go, and to see what we're going to do about it. And that's what he's doing, guys. So, I mean, you can change the Constitution, but you have to go through Congress. You have to go through Congress, and it has to become a law. It can be done. He has to go through it and put a law on the books, and then if they want to change it, they can do it. But it has to be passed by the Constitution and then certified by the Senate. It has to go through all of that before it can be ratified and put into the Constitution. That is just the law, guys. So that is just the law. So what I want to do now is I want to go to show you some of the executive orders that he's already put in place. And let's just kind of touch on them a little bit. I'll let you know what's going on and why we need to pay attention, because you're going to get a lot of optics from Trump that make it seem like things are doing this and he's doing that, and he's really not. And who cares? This is his last term, and I'm so glad. But he's going to make it seem like he's doing all this stuff because he wants to be the greatest. Man, this guy is just, these therapies so bad. I just can't even fathom what we have going. So you need to pay attention to every executive order. Yes, pay attention to what he's trying to do. There is a pattern. So let's just go over to the first one that I have here, and we'll just talk about it. So this is just a summary of some of the things that he's done as for executive order. And one of them is the rescission of 78 Biden era executive orders, actions, and memoranda. So basically, he's going in and taking out whatever Biden's done. He's going to undo it. All right. Pretty much whatever that is. And that's what I don't like about executive orders. They only last as long as the president that is in office. Sometimes they're so good that they stay, and another president may leave it alone, and it'll stay in existence, All right. There's a regulatory freeze preventing bureaucrats from issuing any more regulations until we have full control of the government. So that's the one that was kind of stopped because it was all the spending and whatever. So they were trying to stop everything, but they couldn't do that. And it says a freeze on all federal hiring except in the military and a number of excluded categories. These are all executive orders that he's saying he wants to do. And then it says a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work. He can do that. This is stuff that he can do. Directing agencies to address Americans' cost of living crisis. Okay. Withdraw from the Paris Agreement, informing the United Nations of the U.S. withdrawal from the landmark climate treaty. He's never liked anything to do with climate change. So he got out of it the first term and he got out of it again. So we expected that. A directive of the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech, preventing government censorship of free speech going forward. I'm not sure what that's all about. Free speech going forward. I don't understand why he's writing an order for that, because the First Amendment is there and free speech is living and it's alive. A directive to the federal government ending the weaponization of government against the political adversaries of previous administration, as we've seen. That is called the Trump order. That means quit coming after people because he thinks that everybody was weaponizing him specifically. So he's wrote an executive order that you can't do that. So I don't know how much of this is going to stick, but we'll see. We'll see how much of this will stick. All right. The next one is On the first full day, Trump targets DEI initiatives. All right. Y'all know diversity, equity, and inclusion. The right just hate this. All right. And this goes back to my whole statement of white fragility and how white people, and excuse me for saying it like that, they just feel like all of these people of color, you're getting special treatment and preferential treatment, and you don't need that. Everything's equal now. So quit all this stuff. Everybody's equal. There shouldn't be, even after this country was built on so many racist views, and it just has not been equal on anything. And so they just want to say it's all done now. And unfortunately, you expect people to do the right thing, but they're not doing the right thing. So he came in and his order was to get rid of the whole DEI, inclusion hiring on the basis of race, sex, disability, or any other criteria other than the safety of airline passengers' overall job excellence. Harms all Americans who deserve to fly with confidence, Trump wrote in the statement. So that's what he did. So we expected that. All this stuff that he's talking about right now is in Project 2025. All right? Keep that in mind. So here's the next one. In one executive order, Trump said his administration will use clear and accurate language and policies that recognize women are biologically female and men are biologically male. It is the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female. The executive order said these sexes are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental and incontrovertible reality. So this is basically the whole trans thing and the non-binary, and there's a thing that everybody's doing. What are your pronouns? He's basically getting rid of all that. Okay, so they just want to like get rid of a whole sector of people and have just made them like non-existent. It's pretty much what they've done. Has he ever thought about people that are born unisex? There are some people that are physically born unisex and they have two organs. What do you do about those? You make them choose, So, I don't know. I don't think they understand what they're doing at all. So that's one there. All right, next one here. TikTok, of course. On the social media front, the president signed an executive order extending the deadline for TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to divest from the app just one day after the law requiring it ban took effect. So there was a law that came into effect, passed, and everything. So the app went offline. We know that. I'm a TikToker. And then after the company announced that it believed Trump would block the ban taking effect. So Trump's executive order gave ByteDance an additional 90 days to divest from TikTok to avoid a ban on the app. So the Congress and Senate have already voted to get rid of it. So they're working it out. Now, this is a good thing that he brought it back. But the bad thing is that he made it seem like that he was the one, he was the main one that was trying to get rid of it. So now he's the savior. He brought back TikTok. And this is about the optics that I tell you about. Trump wants to be the king, the god. So bring TikTok back. He's taking credit for it. Let him. I don't care. I really don't care that he wants to take credit for TikTok. Okay, you got that. All right, you brought it back, but it's only for 90 days. So what are you gonna do after that? We don't know. Hopefully, an American company will buy it, and then the app will stay because there's a lot of people that make a sizable amount of their living on that app, and it's helped small businesses. It's just done a lot. I mean, and the kids love it. Why would you get rid of it? I understand the implications and the safety of our country. That's important, and we need to fix that and find the right thing to do. But yes, I'm with them finding a way to regulate it so that the Chinese government is not stealing our information and being a threat by not having any regulatory items or policies on TikTok. Okay, so that was that one. Then we go to tariffs and taxes. Now, we talked about tariffs and taxes all during the election. Now, Trump fulfilled his campaign promise to impose steep tariffs on countries like Canada and Mexico, saying that as of February 1st, there will be a 25% tariff on imports from both countries. Now, these countries are fighting back. They are angry. They are mad. And the Americans, every economist is saying, if he does that, The Americans, we are going to pay, all of us consumers are going to pay the price because the prices of those items are going to go up because we're going to have to pay the tariffs, right? If they're going to charge us the tariff, then what they're going to do, they're going to raise their stuff so that it's higher. And so the tariff is going to be paid, but we're going to take the brunt of it. All right. It says he also signed an executive order saying that a global minimum corporate tax deal supported by the Biden administration negotiated with over 100 countries has no force or effect in the U.S. without an act of Congress. Minimum corporate tax. And this goes back to his whole corporate thing. Anything that's going to help the billionaires and the millionaires, he's going to do it because it's all about him. Remember that. All right. Trump signed a pair of executive orders to boost oil and gas drilling. One order seeks to drill in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and National Petroleum Reserve. So he's never going to think about clean energy or clean air because that goes to climate change. So anything that goes to the drill, baby, drill, they're going to do it. So this is all just game, you know. I mean, every now and then he might stumble on something that might work. It might be good. I mean, there was some tariffs that he put in the first term that Biden left in place that were kind of working out. So everything is not a bad thing if it does it for the people and not for himself, you know. Let's see. The second order of reviews of policies that burden the development of domestic energy resources and eliminates the Biden era electric vehicle mandate. So basically, he don't want any electric cars. We're not going to go anything. We're going to stay with gas. We're going to stay with ozone. We're going to continue to mess up the climate because the right doesn't believe in climate change. That's it. That's the whole deal right there. So there you go. So now we have the declassification of the JFK files. He also did the declassification of the MLK files. Now, why is he doing this? I don't know. The order says that the continued redaction and the withholding of information from records pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy is not consistent with the public interest, and release of these records is long overdue. This order requires the Director of National Intelligence and Attorney General, along with the assistants to the President for National Security Affairs and counsel to the President, to present a plan within 15 days for the full and complete records related to the assassination. Then they will have 45 days to present plans on the release of the information of the assassinations of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, according to the order. So I'm not really sure why he's doing this. I, as a historian, am intrigued by them opening it up, but I don't know why he's doing this. I really don't know why I think he's doing this. I don't know, other than it's just something. I think he wants to expose Martin Luther King. I think he's just adding JFK, and I think he wants to just expose all of them because they're Democrats. He wants to expose their lies. We all know all the rumors about JFK. We know the rumors about Martin Luther King having an affair. We know all that stuff has been out there for years, and he just wants to embarrass them. I think that's what it is to show. I think I got it. He wants to show that he's not the only corrupt person out there who had affairs and whatever. Maybe that's it. And they're great people that we know that are well loved and liked, and he wants to be loved. I think I figured it out. That's it. He wants to show the flaws of these people. He wants it out there so everybody can see. And these are the ones that we really do consider some of our greatest leaders of all time. And I don't care. You can do it, Mr. Trump. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All right. What do we have now? Climate and drilling. The president signed a number of executive orders withdrawing the United States from key agreements and agencies. All right. So anything to do with climate control, he's going to get rid of it. All right. So if you're someone that voted for Trump and you think climate control is going to get moved forward, it's not happening. It is not happening. So you might as well give that up. So he can do this kind of stuff like this, and there's nothing that we can do to stop this. This doesn't require Congress approval. He can just stop it. So there will be no work done on this particular thing. Trump issued another order declaring a national energy emergency. A national energy emergency, which could allow him to unilaterally bypass certain environmental regulations. Whenever he declares a national emergency, of any sort, it gives the president more power. He can also use the military. Okay? Remember that. If it's a national emergency and he declares it, he gets a little bit more power that way. Oh boy, oh boy. These are scary. All right. Let's see. He also declared a national emergency at the southern border, allowing him to use federal funding to construct a wall. Now, we all know about the border. All right. So, when he declares a national emergency, he is allowed to use the federal Army, Navy. He can use the military. All right. That's a big one. Trump said while signing the order. People have wanted him to do this for years. He also reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, which requires asylum seekers to stay in Mexico while their cases go through courts in the U.S. And he suspended the Refuge Administration Program until such a time as further entry into the United States of refugees aligns with the interests of the United States. Now, some of this is okay. You know, I mean, I think the whole asylum seekers and staying in the country thing is a little bit scary because a lot of those people came from countries where they were being killed and whatever, and they were allowed to stay in the U.S. until their court dates came up. So now he's basically telling them, go back there. If you get killed or you get put in jail or whatever, I can't help you because the court date's not here yet, but you can't stay in the U.S. while we wait. That's pretty much what he did. All right. Which is kind of cruel. It's kind of cruel. And I agree that we need lawful immigration. We've had a problem with that area for a long time. But make it humane. Make it humane. You can't split parents from kids. You got to figure some stuff out. Things have got to be figured out. Donald Trump. Okay. All right. Immigration. Trump signed an executive order seeking to end the birthright citizenship. We talked about that. This order will almost certainly face legal challenges, which it has. A judge has already come out. I mean, there's lots of lawsuits, so that one's going to get challenged. Probably not going to get this done, but he wanted to try it. Since birthright citizenship is enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, he also signed an order designating Mexican drug cartels and some other organizations to be foreign terrorist organizations. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. You know, I agree with that. Who wants to be cartels are dangerous people. Okay. So you notice the pattern of this whole thing is that most of the things that he does as far as immigration, let me just go back to the immigration slide here. You know, immigration is mostly all of it is put on the southern border. All the emphasis is put on the southern border, the brown and black people, the Haitians and whatever. But, you know, Asians are a big cause of problems as well as Canadians. But we're not seeing any video of them hauling any of them off. But most of them are coming here by overstaying visas. They're not coming over illegally, but they are still here illegally. Do you know what I mean? So, and there's a larger percentage of them coming from the Canadian border. Michigan is the largest state that has the most people coming in from Canada to Michigan. Their border is worse than the Mexican border. That's what the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, said on The View just the other day, that they have the largest border. Not the southern one, but nobody's over there doing that to Canada. There's a lot of Canadians here that shouldn't be here, and they're not citizens. But are you seeing any optics of that? No. Is ICE up there in Canada? No. Because, I mean, Canadians are typically not brown and black people. So you see what I'm saying? He has a tone and a undertone message of what he's going for. And this is still why I say that Mr. Trump will never, ever not be called a racist, because I'm sorry, he has racist tendencies. He just always has, and it's just there. That's just it. All right. Let's see. The second executive order he signed on Tuesday ordered agencies to terminate all discriminatory and illegal preferences, mandates, policies, programs, activities, guidance, regulations, enforcement actions, consent orders, and requirements, and enforce our longstanding civil rights laws to combat illegal private sector DEI preferences, mandates, policies, and programs. So this is the whole DEI thing again. It revoked 4 executive orders that dealt with addressing environmental justice and environmental initiatives to promote diversity in federal workplaces. So DEI, don't want any of that. And of course, He thinks that's messing with black and brown people, but again, that affects women. The DEI affects veterans. It affects LGBT people. But I don't think that he knows that that's going to affect a lot of women. DEI has helped a lot of women get into some of these jobs. But, oh well. There you go. All right, transgender rights and DEI efforts. The president also signed an executive order that could significantly curtail transgender rights, with Trump and Republicans made a focal point of their campaigns. Now, this one to me is the saddest of all. It's just a small sector of our population. And I mean, I don't know what it's going to do to transgender people. It'll probably revoke them from changing names, getting medications, using restroom, all kinds of stuff. And I don't look forward to what this is going to do to those people, and I really hope that we have some people that stand up for the transgender community, because they're human beings. Whether you like or believe in what they are and how they became who they are, I'm sorry, but they are human beings, and they owe decency and they owe respect, and they don't deserve to be treated like they're being treated. And that's all I'm going to say on that. All right, so the Iron Dome. Trump has now officially begun the process of creating the Iron Dome for America, a nod to the Israeli missile defense system. So basically, he's trying to make us seem like we're some big power system, like some of the other big countries that are out there for mass destruction. And I'm sure with him and Pete Hegseth, the new defense secretary, they're going to be working on this stuff. So, the order directs implementation of a next generation missile defense shield for the United States. So I don't know what this means, to tell the truth, but it's scary. It sounds scary. And we just hope that our new Secretary of Defense has the wherewithal to understand and know what to do with something this important for our country. Okay, what do we have next here? Banning DEI. We talked about that. He's doing that, of course, right? And then let's see, designating Ansar Allah terrorist group. So this is designating a group known as Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization. The order says that the U.S. will work with allies to eliminate their capabilities and operations. Now, this sounds like something good. Anything that has to do with terrorists and you're stopping it, I'm with it. All right. So all things aren't bad things. Okay. This one is about transgender service members. This is another executive order. Trump signed an order directing the Department of Defense to update its guidance regarding trans-identified medical standards for military service and rescind guidance inconsistent with military readiness. The order will require DoD to update all its medical standards to ensure they prioritize readiness and lethality. The order will also end the use of pronouns in the Department of Defense, and will also prohibit males from sharing, sleeping, changing, or bathing in facilities designated for females. This is this whole fear thing, guys. And the military is one place we don't need that. So, I mean, they've come a long way with the military, with the don't say gay and the whole bit, to take it backwards. And we're just going backwards. So that one is, call it what it is, but we knew that was coming. That is popular stuff for his base, and the stuff they want to see. So that's what he's doing. So there you go. And then let's see, reinstating military members who refuse vaccination. Okay, so this one really gets on my nerve, because one of the requirements of the military is that you have to be vaccinated for everything, because you go all different countries. You have to get vaccinations. You have to be ready to do any kind of deployment anywhere. And why would COVID just be taken out of that group of vaccinations? So it says, Trump signed an order directing the Secretary of Defense to reinstate service members who were dismissed for refusing the COVID vaccine with full back pay and benefits, according to the White House. The fact sheet on the order estimates that more than 8,000 troops were discharged between 2021 and 2023 following the Biden administration's policy requiring vaccination for service members. The order asks that the discharged military personnel will receive their former rank. So if they have to go and fight in Africa or Sudan, I'm sure they're getting vaccines for any place they have to go to a country. Hell, when we go to travel for countries, you have to get these certain malaria and whatever. What's the difference? Because the right never accepted COVID, wearing masks, the whole mandate, they are still there, guys. They are still there, not admitting that we had a pandemic. All of these conspiracy theories are still out there, yet all these people died. People was getting sick. Hell, he had COVID. This is getting to be so ridiculous. So ridiculous, guys. And I don't know what to do other than we have got to keep on, guys. Keep on Trump watch. We got to watch this guy. So all these executive orders he's placing, Democrats, we need to get it together. Y'all are still kind of not loud enough for me. We need to be louder. I know there was an emergency meeting called by Hakeem Jeffries to talk about a lot of these things that are coming through, these picks that they're getting, for the cabinet members. I don't know how much power we can get on that, but some of the questioning you guys are having is not being tough enough to me for what we're trying to put in office. Because that Pete Hegseth, he should not have gotten. He almost didn't, guys. So, we have to do the work. So, guys, that's where I am. And I will try to keep you informed on what is going on in Trump's world and how you, as a citizen, have a voice. Your congressman, you can call their phone number. They have to take the call. They want to hear the calls. They want you to write them. You can email them. You can reach out to your congressman if things are not going right. If things are not happening, like the price of eggs, they're going up again. They're going up again. Trump has lied to you. He has got nothing on the agenda for the people other than the immigration thing, that's happening. And the optics of that are just, he's not really doing anything different that was already done. They've already been doing this stuff here. So, but I tell you guys, we're down. We're coming to a rocky road of 4 years, but we can't let our guards down. We have to keep fighting and keep finding common ground and try to work this thing out so we can live together as one in this country. All right? That's my goal. Let's find some common ground. Let's find some things that we can do together. And let's get Donald Trump out of office. Let's get this 4 years out of the way. As hard as it's going to be, but keep on Trump watch. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for joining me on my podcast. And join me again. Bye now.